I want to have an internship. Well, you need experience to have your first internship. This is a weird problem in the industry because it seems like for every internship you apply to, you have to have some sort of experience, and that doesn't really make sense. Welcome back. As an incoming Microsoft intern, I'm going to tell you what recruiters are looking for, so stick around to the end of the video, smash that like button and subscribe. So, first of all, you're going to start putting your code somewhere, start showing that you have the ability to do things. So this could be using GitHub, this could be creating a portfolio, a website, that's even better. I like creating YouTube videos showcasing my projects. For example, I like to show that I have this HoloLens project and I put this on my website and it's straight away there in the recruiter's face. I have my GitHub over here. It shows, all my contributions to open source, all my projects. It shows, you're doing stuff which is not just a university coursework, because normally, you don't publish university coursework. That's normally not allowed. So this shows that you do it beyond, your just everyday university life. And if you don't have any projects, an easy way to start doing projects is to look into tutorials. Say you do a tutorial, then later on you can go try restart that from scratch and create your own unique version of that. And that's one thing you can straight away do. And you don't have to put this on a website, just host it on GitHub or just reference that somewhere. Just put it somewhere where it's publicly visible. So that, for example, you could say, hey, I've made the world's best application. But if you don't actually have something tangible to show, then it means nothing. It's like the quote which goes, if your actions don't live up to your words, then you have nothing to say. So, once you've got your projects, you can start the job search. You start looking on like LinkedIn, you look on Indeed, you look on GradCracker, all these awesome websites, they will list applications. And some of them have really easy ways to apply. So on LinkedIn, jobs, for example, you can just upload your CV and then you just one-click apply. I think some other websites might have that, like Internship, Indeed. I don't really go into these much. I normally also just apply directly to the website. So Microsoft themselves, they have this website which is microsoft.com/university. You can see over here. So if you go ahead, you can apply to that website and then you can see all the job listings they have. Not all these job listings might be posted everywhere else. And you can also set job alerts. So set job alert, look into the job description, see which ones you like. For these, once you found these jobs you're looking for, maybe tweak your resume to put projects which are relevant to these internships. Personally, I don't really ever tweak my resume. I think I've tweaked it like once, and that was to shift a project up like a few lines because I knew that company was into that thing. But apart from that, I literally applied basically with the same resume to every single company. I didn't really bother with the cover letter at all. But cover letters are sometimes, I guess, useful to show that you actually are interested in this company. AngelList is actually really good if you're struggling a lot to find any responses from any companies, because AngelList is built specifically for startups, and startups are looking to build a new team, and that's an easy way to get, an internship. I just found out about that website really recently, but it seems like a really, really good way to get into the industry, because startups often don't have the resources to start paying high salaries. So getting an intern who is willing to learn and to give the skills at a lower pay is often what they're looking for. So yeah, there you go. Then you can use that first internship at that startup to start saying, hey, you've already got experience. So for your next one, you could go like, I've already got experience. So in the future, it doesn't matter if you start at a startup, no pun intended, but I honestly think it's a lot better when you're starting out, because you have to wear so many hats. Often when you're in a bigger company or a medium-sized company, you get put into a very niche area and you work on a specific thing. I had experience working with a startup and I often had to wear many hats. I had to sometimes be doing, DevOps, I had to be doing AI, I had to be doing front-end development. And I even got to talk about, interviewing other people, talking about other candidates and working with people from around the world. And I also had that one-to-one connection directly with my boss, the CEO of the company. So you don't often get these things in a bigger company because the ladder to climb is super high. So you get to see it from different perspectives. So startups are actually really good. And then later on you can say, hey, you've got X number of months or years experience at this startup. Then you fulfill this criteria of, hey, you need experience to do this internship, if you get what I mean. So talking about experience, that leads me on to my next point, which is if a job does say, hey, you need this number of years experience on it, if it's a junior job, if it's an internship, just ignore that, because if a job does say, hey, you need 10 years experience to get this internship, what I find really funny is the whole idea of, having to have experience when there's no experience needed. These are students who potentially have no experience at all. As a first year student, I was applying to internships and it was really, hard, because you get rejected a lot of times not knowing what to do when they say, hey, we need you to have experience. So a good way to start doing that is, like I mentioned before, having these projects and a small other thing. You can do freelancing. Freelancing sometimes is a lot easier way to get into the business, because what happens is there's word of mouth, and word of mouth actually goes a long way. You need 10 years experience to do this React job. First of all, that's not possible because React hasn't been out that long. So like, just ignore these sorts of things, because it's normally a HR thing, and not all of these people are technical. So the recruiters might go to the boss, and the boss might not be technical at all. They might be like, hey, so you're looking for a candidate, how many years experience do you want? And they might be like, hey, I want 10 years experience for React. And yeah, it's a HR thing. So like, just apply. Don't lie and say you have that number of years experience, but just apply. And the worst that could happen is you can get rejected, but there's the possibility, right, that they might create an opening for you if you don't even meet the criteria. So often the case is you don't even, like, you can apply to senior roles. So just email in, say, hey, I don't have this many years experience, but I feel I could do this for you. And often the case is that they can make up jobs for you. So for example, my internship, which I did for my role in the summer last year, I think they made the roll up just after I sent in my resume. So it was like on the day during my internship, they were like, hey, we're doing this project and we don't really have time for this, but you could do it for us. Because, if you're lower paid, or if, you're just a student, so it's not really a burden for the company at all. They're just giving you something they put off. In terms of like skills as well, if they say you need a certain skill set, for example, if they say you need JavaScript experience but you hate JavaScript and you've never done it before, just show you're willing to learn. That's often the case, I think, with a lot of companies. They will invest in people who show that potential to learn, so growth mindset. Just be honest with them, because if you do lie and you say, hey, I have JavaScript experience, they often do give you these coding tests, and they might give you in JavaScript, and you might have to start doing these things, and then you just might fail it. So if you just say, hey, no, I don't have this, or if you just don't put that on your resume, just be honest. Make sure you are able to talk about everything you've been able to do and show examples with your resume. As I mentioned, I think loads of companies actually prefer you to have a growth mindset and not know something, rather than to know everything and not have that growth mindset, because it shows that you're not willing to learn and that you can't grow. You have to be able to grow with this industry. In any job nowadays, especially like in software engineering, you need to be able to show that you're able to adapt quickly and learn fast, because it rapidly is changing. Say if they're looking for someone with JavaScript knowledge, and there's someone who's a really good candidate, they have JavaScript knowledge, but they don't have the growth mindset, and you compare that to someone with the growth mindset, this person who has this growth mindset, I think, can go super far in comparison. Because if you do look at the jobs in the next 10 years, you're having roles such as augmented reality story builder, you're having drone traffic optimizer, you have self-driving car mechanic, you have human machine teaming manager, you have all of these crazy jobs, and I'll link an article down below which references this. You have all these jobs which will come out, and you need to be able to learn and adapt in this fast-growing industry. And if you don't have that growth mindset, then like, how are you going to do that? So companies really look for that characteristic in people. So learn to have that, learn to embody that. It's something which comes naturally to me. I just love learning. But yeah, show that you're able to learn if you don't have these skills, and I think that's something they would really love. For example, my internship, I had no experience creating an augmented reality app. I wasn't sure how I was going to go about doing an app for the mobile phone with augmented reality, let alone the HoloLens. So you approach these things with a growth mindset. I knew it was going to be very hard, but then you're like, hey, no, I can do this. I'm going to put this growth mindset on. They gave me this project, and I believe they told me they don't expect me to be able to do this, because they've tried it themselves and they were having problems. They couldn't get it running. There were certain barriers, and they explained to me the problems they were having. And I was like, hey, I have this growth mindset. I'm going to be able to do this. I was thinking in my mind. I actually set my bar way above the expectations they set for me, because, they didn't expect me to be able to do it. I changed the game. I was like, hey, I'm going to try to do it for the HoloLens. And I was prepared to not get that as well. I was like, hey, I will try to do it for the mobile first. I will try to do it on a laptop first, and I'll see, okay, if it's possible. And then once that was done, that was my goal for like the first few days, to get that going. And then once that was done, I had my next goal in mind, which was, get it on mobile. Did that within the first week, and then it was on the Friday I started trying to get it on the HoloLens, and it was just like, hey, not everyone actually knows what they're doing in this industry. So, not everyone's an expert in every field. So you have to just be able to have the skill. A really nice quote from my friend who's Brian Dang. He's at Microsoft and he's a program manager for Power Apps. And he puts it like, if you can put something into keywords, then you're able to use a search engine and you can find things. So my recommended search engine that you use is Bing, of course. So you can use Google as well. But, if you can put it into keywords, then you can just search for it. And there's so many things available. Like, I was looking stuff up, which, like, no one would have been able to help me if they've never used the HoloLens before. So, like, not everyone does that. They have the equipment there for the HoloLens. But, like, if I was to go to someone and say, hey, I'm having this DLL error, do you know what it is? Pretty much what they'll probably do is look it up as well. So you just do that. If you're able to search, you're able to find something. I literally made this tweet the other day. It was like programming, knowing how to use Google or something like that. And it was literally, it's basically true. I actually use Bing. I'm just doing it because it's more relatable. Got to get that, gotta make it as hashtag relatable as possible. Yeah, just showing you're willing to learn is really awesome. And yeah, don't lie about your skills, because you often go to have these coding tests and they can prove if you're telling the truth or not. So yeah, growth mindset over lying, definitely. Yeah, so that's that. One thing I should have done was get a recommendation, and that could help you get future internships in the future, because these recruiters might look at your LinkedIn and they can see, hey, this person's been recommended, they have the skills, they're endorsed by other people. So yeah, if you do know me and I've done this project for you, then yeah, a recommendation would be nice. Thanks. Yeah, so recommendations could potentially help. I don't know, since I literally just got my first recommendation. There often comes times where you might not actually get a response from these companies. So if you do have like a spreadsheet or somewhere where you can track all these applications you've got, then you can say, okay, if they don't email back, you can follow up with an email. I know Gmail has this feature. Keep track of this, and if you follow up, it shows your interest into this company. And yeah, that's what companies really want. They want you to be interested in working there, and that's that's the goal, right? There's nothing that you are losing if you email in, because if you give it a reasonable amount of time, what's the chances that you're going to hear back from them? Them maybe saying, hey, we haven't seen your application next. Can you just resend your resume, or can you give me your candidate number? These people who actually read these emails might be able to push it up to the hiring manager or something. You can maybe forward them your CV. They are humans at the end of the day, and they have the contacts within the company normally. Like, they might be on a Teams or Slack channel. They could just directly message the team. And that's something which is pretty cool. Think about it like this as well, that if you don't email in, you're missing 100% of the shots you don't take. So there you go. Don't be afraid for that. Following up, it might sound like a bad idea, but I'm not saying spam them. Spamming them is a bad idea. Sometimes if you follow up, like when for my Microsoft Student Partner application, I followed up with the program manager, the head program manager for that. But now I've made it into the Microsoft Student Partner program. I've been able to speak in Microsoft Build and all of these things. Maybe if I didn't follow up, I wouldn't have got the opportunity, and I might not have been accepted into the program. Maybe I would have. But at the end of the day, it didn't hurt my chances at all. And by the way, my bonus tip is to join the Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador program if you are looking to get into Microsoft. Finally, to end off, just don't give up. I have applied so many times to company, been through upset, happiness, everything. It's a weird thing. I've been super emotionally attached to Microsoft itself. Last year I applied. I was told, they're really interested in my profile, but I applied too late. So they said, hey, apply next year. Guess where I'm at now? Keep trying, because I've been through so many applications and I've been rejected so many times. I was like crying, and I've been through a lot. Okay, you just have to keep going. You have to keep trying. Send in 10 times the applications you've already put forth. If you put in 1, put in 10. If you've put in 10, put in 100. You're just increasing your chances of hearing back. And if you are potentially not hearing back from anyone, it could be that you're being filtered out by an automated scanning system. So if you do want to know how you can avoid that, check out my resume tips video. And this is my little intern friend. He's working for me on the side. So go ahead, talk to him. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe for this honesty and these tips, which basically are nowhere else. And tune in for next week where I tell you some awesome stuff. Bye.